Welcome to the Real Estate Show on KMED. March the 26th is our day today. Thank you for joining us. Pete Belcaster and Joe Brett, the real estate guys, with you. We're both real estate brokers at John L. Scott Real Estate in Southern Oregon, and we get together with you once a week here on KMED to talk about all sorts of real estate-related issues and topics, and we never seem to run out of them. In case you've missed some of our past shows, you can go to realestateshowOregon.com or on YouTube, and all of our TV, cable, and radio shows are there, and you can watch and catch up with us. Last week, we had a terrific show about jobs, the economy, and real estate. And today's topic really kind of moves into that somewhat, doesn't it, Joe? We're just going to talk with Brad Bennington, the CEO of the Southern Oregon Builders Association, formerly the Home Builders Association of Southern Oregon, but no more, right?
That's right.
No more.
Yeah, well, we outgrew our mission. 50 years ago when the Home Builders Association signed Articles of Incorporation, the idea there was to provide some support services for the construction industry here in Southern Oregon. They did a great job of that for 50 years, focusing, mostly on residential construction.
Yeah.
And we outgrew it. We're providing so much support for the community and for construction services outside the home building industry.
Outside of home building, yep.
So Southern Oregon Builders Association just makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, tell me.
Are you saying that the world has changed in 50 years? Or?
A little bit, Joe. Yeah, the world has changed just a little bit in the last, and you know what? And all of us here in this room, we've changed a little bit in the last 50 years.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to support the trades, the building trades, then you should have that name and reflect that. I think that makes a lot of sense, and there's so much going on beyond just residential. I think that's maybe we don't even think about that sometimes.
And it's more than the hammers and the nails. It's the advocacy. It's the education and the community and the whole banana.
Yeah, the policy side. I probably have a third of the people that come see us in our offices are probably there for more commercial or non-residential needs than they are for particular residential needs. But residential construction is so critical to our community because of the financial impact that it has. And we have become, as part of our service-based economy that we now have in Southern Oregon, residential construction is one of the biggest rocks in the jar in terms of the economic vigor that we bring to the community. It's so important.
And right now, that is in full swing. There's no question about that. I was surprised, though, listening to Colleen last week about the lack of business parks, the lack of large, commercial spaces. I mean, 100,000 type of square feet kinds of things. So there's room, isn't there, for a lot more out there.
Well, and we're not going to get political because we're not a political show. But when you have our legislature doing things like talking about gross receipts taxes that and increasing minimum wage and mandatory paid sick leave, and these companies are moving out of Oregon. Companies don't have to be located in Oregon; they can be located somewhere else.
Anywhere you want nowadays. They're connected.
And it's almost like a lot of our legislators in Salem. Are just doing almost everything that they can to drive business out of Oregon. We don't really understand what that's all about, but we're glad people still want to live here anyway.
Yeah, well, if you're a small business, we have my sister and I, and it affects you when you have these government telling you how much to pay your people. Government tells you all these things, and
it's not a level playing field.
No, it goes against the free enterprise system, capital, whatever it is. And anyway, but I guess we have to live with it. Well, you've got some things you want to share with folks about what the legislature did just in this last session regarding housing and issues. Now, Joe, you always you attend all these hearings of the county. You spend hours and hours of these things. I don't think people realize how many hours you actually spend it. As many as Brad does. Exclusionary zoning, all right? Inclusionary zoning. You guys, what is that? They dealt with that. What does that actually mean? What does it mean?
Let's say that for a little bit further down the road, because it's the inclusionary zoning is a package of 4 bills that we actually helped get passed this last legislative short session, and I brought you kind of a Reader's Digest version for us to refer to. So let's save a more detailed discussion of that for a couple minutes down the road, and let's just say that getting back to our mission, so many people don't understand that a lot of what we do on the policy side has to do with the work that we do here locally with city councils and with our county commissioners, but also at the state level, we have full-time lobbyists that work with us in Salem 365 days a year, so that when they do go into session, that we have the relationships that we need, and we have the access to the offices that we need to come in and have a discussion about these things. The bills that were passed that we worked on are going to save Oregonians literally hundreds of millions of dollars over the next couple of years in housing costs, because we were able to get a hand on the steering wheel and turn it a little bit in the correct direction. We were able to save what could have been just really an economic disaster if the concepts that the legislature had wanted to do had gone forward in the way that they wanted to do it.
Which is always raise fees, raise something on new construction, new building, correct?
Right. Well, one thing that we all know is, and we've talked about this before, is Oregon is a very desirable state. It's the number one move to state for the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. So we know that. And the other thing that we know is the biggest metro area in Portland has declared a housing emergency. Yep. And so people that move to Oregon, especially if you're in the tech industry, you're probably going to wind up going to Portland to work for one of the tech industries up there. And they get there and they find out that their housing prices are number one, they're pretty high. And number two, they can't find anything. There just isn't enough housing available. And why, you ask? Well, here's why. It's because their planning policies are very restrictive. They have purposely decided to restrict their urban growth boundary, so you can't build outside of that. So they're forcing they are literally forcing people against their will to live in denser and denser and denser and more expensive environments. So
okay, now that's going to happen everywhere. That's happened in our communities as well. I don't think outside of urban growth boundaries and things like that you're going to see any of that. That's a topic that we would disagree with. But you can't. The whole issue is about urban sprawl and where you're going to go. Look, if they were allowed up in the Portland area, for example, to do that, you wouldn't have any agricultural land outside of where? Hillsborough? It'd be gone. There'd be nothing there, right? Can't you infill?
Eventually, yeah.
Is there not enough yet in our state that we can make rules that make it easier to do within these urban growth boundaries? They're huge.
Well, before you make the argument that everyone needs to live in a really nice looking sardine can, I think there are probably some bigger metrics that we could look at that have to do with how many square miles that we actually have to work within
there's
a
lot of ground out there. It really is.
Yeah, all you have to do is get up in an airplane and fly around a little bit, and you realize that Oregon's a pretty big place. One of the things that we know about Oregon, though, of course, is that Oregon is 53% owned by the federal government. Mm-hmm. So here it looks like we have all this room in Oregon, but you take out what the federal government owns, and you take out what the counties own, and you take out what all these other governmental entities own, national forests and blah, blah, blah. And now you're down to with land that's actually available to do anything with, and now you're down to a zoning discussion. Mm-hmm. So here, which kind of gets us back to where we were talking about down here in Jackson County, out of the 36 counties in Oregon, Jackson County, and I'm not saying this from any bias on, I'm just being really honest. I think Jackson County is probably the best managed county in Oregon.
It certainly is one. I will agree with you on that. They have issues, but I agree with that.
You look back over the past 10 years, they've managed things very well.
They have.
What the county challenges have been statewide.
If you look at our capital reserves, if you look at our county budgets, if you look at how well things run within their departments compared to other counties, Multnomah County, frankly, they're a financial disaster. They've got this gigantic budget that they run on, but it always runs in the red. They honestly have terrible trouble getting anything done up there. Down here in Jackson County, and of course we like the weather down here better anywhere. It's really a pretty well run county, and our county commissioners and our planning department understand that people do want to move here, and they're working very hard to make sure that within the laws of the state of Oregon that communities can grow. That Central Point's growing. Ashland needs to grow a little bit. We're having a discussion. We know that Medford is wanting to expand their urban growth boundary. So there's this understanding that people, to the extent that they're financially able to, want to move to Southern Oregon and live here. And so our county commissioners within the law are making sure that's going to happen. So, good for us. Mm-hmm. And it's especially good for us because of all these people that they want to come to Oregon and they get to maybe Portland. And sometimes they get to Deschutes County. Deschutes County, their metrics are very similar to ours. Deschutes County is
3% growth last year, the leading county in the state in growth in the state of Oregon.
County, yeah. Well,
so Deschutes County, very desirable county, and also, by the way, very well run, I think.
It is. I said very desirable. There's some people up there who say it's going to hell in a big hurry because of all the growth and the influx that has come into Bend and Deschutes County.
Those doors are wide open, though.
So as we talk about growth, and it's how you do it and where you do it and all these things that go into it. So the people who have been there are not overwhelmed by the newcomers or the new things that you see.
And we're all going to grow. That's what we do know. We're all going to grow.
Yeah. Well, you don't see. What you don't see is people flocking to Klamath Falls, where we're all from. Yeah. Klamath Falls is pretty safe as far as that goes.
We may end up back there when it gets too crowded here.
And yet, as you say that, I was just over there, and housing prices are such that they're quite affordable. And so people looking, and they're going to be in our MLS very soon, where we're going to be able to look at all the properties there. And what I found that people who come in here looking maybe in Jackson County, you start looking in Josephine County, and the prices are so much different that they choose to go there rather than come here. I think the same thing's going to happen between here and Klamath County, because you're going to see absolutely wonderful properties, and the prices are going to be so much lower than they are here. So, it works two ways.
Yeah, the main driver, I think, there is, you look at Deschutes County and you look at Klamath County, basically you're looking at an elevation discussion, Klamath County, 3,000 feet higher. And you have this little thing called winter that we don't have over here in the Rogue Valley.
You have to drive to it here.
But a lot of people
it comes
go to
you there.
Yeah, a lot of people go to Bend because it's so, it's beautiful. You got the Deschutes River and the skiing and good golf courses and all that. But usually 2 winters, especially if they're people, those of us as we're getting a little older, and I know it doesn't apply to you, Pete, but older guys like me and Joe, as we get a little older, we like the warmer weather, and so we're more attracted to a temperate climate like we have here in the Rogue Valley. So we know that we have all these people moving to Oregon. We know that a lot of these people are going to wind up in the Rogue Valley, and you see it. That's what you're seeing. You've gone over these numbers, and you see sales of existing homes. The days on the market have gone way down. The inventory has gone way down, but the biggest increases that you've seen are where it's on new homes. If you look at year-over-year increases on the prices of new homes, what are they doing?
Oh, they've increased. I think the new construction prices are definitely higher.
Outpacing
the regular home sales, yes, in terms of price and increases.
But we are still significantly below where we were back in 2005 and 2006.
Wow. Isn't that just
That's
hard
amazing.
to believe?
Yeah.
It's just hard to fathom.
And I believe you.
But I'm not down that. I just can't imagine that.
Yeah. So all you have to do is crank up those little memory cells in your brain a little bit and remember what housing prices were 10 years ago, and you say, well, we're not even back to those yet. So what that means is that we really do, even with our prices going up, we still have what we're going to call affordable housing here in the Rogue Valley. So I really believe that our housing here is probably some of the best values, available anywhere.
Really? Well, in some areas, I would say that's probably true. In other areas, in other communities, I would say that's probably not so true.
And I would say that it depends on who is moving here as well. If you're coming from California with a boatload of equity, the housing prices up here are really reasonable. And it's very attractive when you put that together with our climate, with all the other attractions and the natural resources thing we have around us. Yeah, it's a pretty attractive
Well, we
package.
certainly see retirees who are coming up. And I've been with them this week, people showing them properties, and they're coming for those same reasons that we talk about, and but they look at. But I think also when they're looking at housing prices, they don't want to be taken advantage of. I think, and that's what I think. Sometimes sellers are thinking that this is a seller's market and I can get everything I can. I'm not going to negotiate those kind of things. And buyers are pretty smart too here. I mean, they're pretty picky and they're willing to wait until if they don't see something that they want. Also,
there's no pressure on them to move at a certain time. Yeah,
no, there isn't.
They can wait it out.
Yeah, and some are doing that.
Well, if somebody gave you $10 million to go buy property with, and if you looked at all the different markets you could buy property in, this is probably one of the best places you could park that money.
I don't disagree with that. You're right. I mean, we've had people in our show come in and say, "What would you invest in?" Yeah. I'd invest in multifamily units and duplexes and these kind of things that can generate income for the individual.
I'd build a residential rental neighborhood, 3-2s, about 12 3-2s, one little subdivision.
So
All little rental units.
Okay.
If I just had the cash to put out to do that.
By the way, did you see where the city of Medford, what the city council is going to consider having that homeless park with the tiny houses? We talked about those things. Remember that? That's interesting. I think that could be housing. Talk about housing problem that could solve some of the problems too.
Right. Let's bring lots of people to Medford who can't afford to be in housing, so that we can put them into little trailers parked all over the place. What a great idea! Why didn't I think of that? Wonderful idea.
We'll see how far that goes. I don't know. I don't know.
So anyway, getting back to talking about property that you actually buy with money. Let's go back to our mythical $10 million, right?
Okay.
So you got $10 million and you have it in the bank, and you are making a whopping 0.5% interest on that $10 million, right?
Yep.
All right. So how much is inflation right now? Now we'll go ahead and we'll use the CPI that the government uses. I mean, it's fantasy land, but we'll go ahead and use it, and it's 4.5%.
Okay.
So if they're paying you 0.5% and inflation is 4.5%, how much money are you losing?
You're going to have to hold that thought till we come back after our break, because we're going to get cut off here. We're with Brad Bennington, the CEO of the Southern Oregon Builders Association, here on the Real Estate Show. You really got me thinking today here on all this kind of stuff. This is like heavy duty stuff about all this. There's more to it, and more to it than just meets the eye.
Brad brings it.
He does. We'll be on the Real Estate Show. We're coming right back to KMED right after this. The Real Estate Show rolls on here on KMED. Thank you for being with us. Pete Belcaster and Joe Brett, the Real Estate Guys. And hey, we're entering the 3 busiest real estate months of the year, March, April, and May. And the next couple of weeks, I have a John L. Scott Market Watch show for you. In a couple of weeks, Kathy Fisher's going to be joining us here, and we'll update you on that kind of information, because I was thinking it's still, Joe, we talk about breaking down those price ranges in the month's supply of inventory. That's kind of what we talk about in the market so much. And man, I'll tell you, in that $250 range or less, even maybe $300,000 and less, boy, it's just, that is
just over a month for $250 to $350, and under a month's supply for $150 and below.
That's just the real demands.
Typically, a 6-month supply is a healthy market.
Although there are people certainly moving into our valley in the upper ranges too, that are out there, that 500,000 range and above. There's lots of interest in those places. So
when you look at the
rural properties, oh my!
As you watch year after year and day after day, those daily listings that come on, and the new listings, and the solds, and the pendings, those numbers are just staggering compared to what we looked at. When we started.
And I'm telling you, it's the gap still continues, because like this week, for example, I remember like on Thursday it was like 20 new listings on the MLS, but when you looked at the pendings and solds, it was almost 50. I mean, that's a 30
that's
house
a continuing
gap.
trend. Yeah.
And I watch what's coming back on the market, and there are coming back onto the market, but it's really slow. So really, what's going to happen is that as April and May comes along, you're going to have more competition, because there's going to be more homes will be listed in the next 2 months. So it's really interesting to watch it, that's for sure. Today here on the show, Brad Bennington. Well, he's the CEO of the Southern Oregon Builders Association, and a regular here on our show. And well, Brad, I'll tell you, Brad is also, in the Planning Commission of Jackson County, and involved in the city government, I know, out in Jacksonville. So between the two of you guys, you guys are really aware of the issues of housing much more than I am. I mean, you guys sit there and you hear with the problems, and I don't know, we talk about them. I don't know if any of it ever gets solved, but we really have issues here in our community, don't we? I mean, for housing.
City of Medford
fair?
City of Medford has just come up with its grand bargain to kind of synthesize the whole UGB process they've been working on really hard for years, and now months. The really hard work of the council has been underway. So that's been an interesting process to watch unfold, as to how all of those competing interests are trying to find a common ground.
Yeah.
And that's something that will be blessed by the Thousand Friends of Oregon, who is the high priest of all that happens with land use.
Well, when that
for
comes,
some reason.
Yeah, when that comes to the Planning Commission, we'll find out what part of it's grand and what part of it's a bargain.
And
and you're right, because it eventually comes through the county when it's said and done.
All right. Do you guys see, because you're there at these meetings, do you see developments coming on? Are there things that I can remember when Brad would sit here and say, we don't have anything. There's nothing in the hopper. there's nothing really coming. And we're seeing a lot now. Are you seeing these issues being addressed in what's coming up?
5 new items, subdivisions on the Medford Planning Commission's docket that last Thursday of this week.
Really?
Yeah. So, and that comes and goes, but there's definitely
what kinds of actions are those, Joe? I mean, are they 1 or 2 units, or is it
they're
big, larger units?
Some 10, some 16, or a couple that I've seen.
Really?
Some are. A couple that are on the agenda are now revisions to the original plats and the original designs and the original plans for some of the subdivisions that were in the works.
Yeah.
So they've kind of updated it now for what they're able to do now, what their projections are for now.
Well, the grand bargain that you mentioned involves a lot of land that's to the east of Medford proper, over there by Centennial and down Hillcrest.
The Northeast Plan, right? The old Northeast Plan.
And we're not talking a few
Southeast.
acres. We're talking hundreds and hundreds of acres.
Okay.
So we're talking a significant amount of and frankly, to me, it's the right answer. It needs to be done, and I'm one of those people that says every American is entitled to live where he wants to, as long as he can afford to live there.
Okay.
So this idea that we're going to densify and make people live in nice-looking sardine cans, I don't. That's not my idea of what America's all about, and it's sure not my idea of what Oregon's about.
Well, certainly when you drive around and you take clients around, that's what you see a lot of, right? I mean, that's what we're seeing. The new stuff is all in small
That's what you were
lots.
advocating for earlier, was this infill.
Well, but that's what you're going to see. That's what I'm saying. That's what's going to happen, it seems. You're not going to get the quarter-acre, third-acre lots right on a new subdivision.
Not unless I say where I'm at.
Yeah.
So, we're not going to have, 1 and 2,000 acre, cattle ranches like we had back in the day, back when we were young guys, like the old Arrowhead Ranch out there, it's on the east side of I-5 out there. And I don't know how many acres that is, but people still want to be comfortable. They want to have a sense of security in their homes. And a lot of people want a little bit of a yard. So there needs to be a place for that. And there needs to be a place for the urbanized development as well. Like you go to downtown Portland, they've got the Pearl District, which is where they rehabilitated the old industrial downtown area of Portland,
right,
and turned all that into apartments. And and there are people that like that, and there needs to be that as well.
Whatever happened to the project in Medford that Alan Sandler was trying to do across from the library? Was going to be parking lot and apartments above. Ashland has done that pretty well in terms of commercial down below and apartments above, condos above, off that
down
kind of
on
thing.
A Street there in Ashland.
In Clear Creek. I was just in some of those.
Central Point has done some of that as well.
Right.
Yeah,
why isn't Medford doing that?
Well, there has to be a demand. I mean, God bless this gentleman for wanting to do that.
Parking has been the key issue in that development being on hold.
But there's demand. I mean, I would think that if they built how many apartments or condos down over that development, that you'd sell them all.
Yeah.
You would.
If you take Pete, you're a realtor, so if you take 20 of your clients to downtown Medford and say, "Would you like to live here?" Right?
Okay. All right.
Okay.
It's
Get that picture in your mind.
Downtown Ashland, isn't it? Okay. All right.
Take 20 of your clients and drive them right to downtown Medford, right down there on Front Street, and say, "Look around. Hey, do you want to live here?"
Yeah,
and then
if they were
take
single
them,
professional clients, I would.
Then take them to downtown Ashland and say, "Hey, would you or Jacksonville?"
Well, they're much more developed in that area.
There has to be an actual need to fill it. You can't make a need without some fuel behind it to actually. So what I'm saying is when people actually want to live in downtown Medford, that's the time to build that. But building it and then hoping somebody will actually want to live there, I don't know if that's going to work very well.
The McKetchy and Sandler development was they are not able to yet find the approvals that they need. They want to continue and want to do it. Right. Parking spaces are the critical issue because they're across. They're talking about the parking lot across from the library building and the RCC campus.
All right. I think seems like one of the biggest issues in housing is the apartments. Apartment complexes or apartment living. Not even condos. I mean, apartments for people to live and the people to build those. And that seems to be really falling behind. Is that a fair statement? Because it seems that rents.
Yeah, Pete. There's where I agree with you 100%. And if you go up to Portland Metro, that's
horrible.
What they build more than anything else up there is 2- and 3-story townhouses.
Right.
And townhouse / condos. Mm-hmm. And in a situation like that, is the owner owns the bricks and the sticks, but they don't own the ground underneath it. So you have the homeowners association owns that, and that model is much more affordable because the owner is only servicing the debt on the actual improvements.
Okay.
So that's a more affordable model, and of course, space-wise, it's much more efficient. So now is a good time to start talking about inclusionary zoning, because inclusionary zoning is exactly what's targeted at this housing problem. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Go ahead. I mean, I think it's important. You guys talk about it all the time. We're going up against a break coming up here, but basically, inclusionary zoning forces you to do what?
Inclusionary zoning essentially is government price control of housing.
See, that's what's so bad about that. Anyway, to me, I mean, I have really mixed feelings about that. You don't want the government to control it, but they do it anyway. And yet, can the private sector do it without the government? And I don't know.
Well, the private sector does a really good job of responding to the market, and what the government does is the government wants to get a hand on the steering wheel and manipulate the market. Because
they want to make money off it, don't they? Want to earn income, they want to tax it and things like that.
Inclusionary zoning is the idea that if the government can force builders to sell some of their properties at below what they're actually worth, that can make it more affordable for people that don't have enough money to buy it.
Does that work? I mean, does that actually work?
I'll answer that on the other side of the break.
All right, we got a break coming up. One more segment to go. We're with Brad Bennington, the CEO of the Southern Oregon Builders Association, here on the Real Estate Show today. That's a good question, isn't it? Anyway, we're coming right back here to KMED right after this. Real Estate Show continues here on KMED. March the 26th is our date, end of the month. Wow, we're into April already. It's like Easter weekend. Hope you're going to have a terrific day tomorrow on Easter Sunday. And, of course, spring break is over. Classes are back in session. All people interviewing for scholarships. I love the springtime. Isn't it beautiful, by the way, in the Rogue Valley? You drive up to the mountains, and I'm telling you, the snow and the snow melt in the streams. I mean, it really is the most, I think, the most beautiful time of the year right now. March, April, May, here in our beautiful valley that we love so dearly. Brad Bennington is the CEO of the Southern Oregon Builders Association. He's with us today on the Real Estate Show.
Howdy, folks.
I'll tell you, right before we took that last break, it really bugs me that when you say inclusionary zoning is just government kind of takeover of this. And gosh, I don't like to hear that. But does it work? I mean, why would the Democrats who passed this, why do they think this works, or does it work, or is that why, or what's the deal with that, Brad?
First of all, we need to kind of make a little bit of a distinction between Oregon Democrats. I love Oregon Democrats. A lot of my friends are Democrats,
Me too. Absolutely, yes.
Wayne Morris is one of my heroes, and he was a Democrat. Of course, he started as a Republican, so I remember that. But here's what we got going on, Pete, and you know this, is that your basic Oregon Democrat probably thinks about most of these same things the way you and I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the Democrats that we have in legislative leadership right now, a lot of them are not even from Oregon. They're from other states that that have much different views than we do, but they've come here to Oregon. They've gotten their hands on the steering wheel. They've gotten themselves elected into offices. Willamette Week, which is a publication that no one would describe as being conservative by any means.
No.
Willamette Week has described the legislative assembly we have in Salem right now as one of the most activist legislatures in the history of Oregon.
Yes, I agree. And it to me, it's a cabal. I mean, I don't know what. So they're just passing because they have the majority to pass whatever they want. They do this and ram this down people's throats.
So there's
so housing is included in this, is what we're saying.
Right. So there's an awful lot of Oregon Democrats that they're shaking their heads.
My sister is one of them. I might say also, it's quite dismayed by it.
Just like the rest of us are. You're like, what are you people thinking? And the answer, here's what they're thinking is that they have a very urban-centric, agenda-driven policy mind about this whole thing. So they look at Portland. Portland is where their constituency is, right? So we got Oregon's got about 4 million people in it, and about 1.5 million of those 4 million people live right there in that 3-county area: Washington, Clackamas, and Multnomah County.
It may even be more.
Maybe a little more.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the 500-pound gorilla
Sure.
of Oregon politics right there. And we really have two Oregons. The Oregon that comprises those three counties is very different from the Oregon that the rest of us live in.
It's always been that way too, hasn't
Jackson County, Klamath County, Josephine County, Lake, it just so. But these people, the representatives who are interested in these things, they're the ones that have gotten elected into these positions in Salem. And that's why we get these things. So inclusionary zoning, or again, let's just call it what it is. It's government price control of housing. Now, if you think that government price control of housing is a good idea, all you have to do is look at some other countries where they do it. and really, it doesn't work very well. But the practical application down here is let's just say that they got what they asked for. What they wanted they wanted for any development, they wanted 30% set aside for what they call affordable housing. Now, affordable housing would be defined by the jurisdiction within which it resided, which means it wasn't a set number. It could be whatever that they said it was. And there was no limit on what it could be. So let's just say, for instance, if you had a community that had 10 homes in it.
Okay, 3 of those.
So the developer wants to put in 10 homes. And the state says, okay, 3 of those homes have to be affordable. So he's selling these homes. The selling price is $400,000, which is maybe a little above normal, but it's a nice subdivision. So he says, well, these are going to be $400,000 homes, and they say, fine. We're looking at that area, and we think affordable is $200,000. So the developer,
does he have to build these homes, or does somebody else build them?
No. So then this inclusionary zoning provision says, okay, Mr. Developer, those 3 homes that you were going to sell at $400,000, you can only sell at $200,000. So there's $200,000 times 3 homes. He's got $600,000 that he's got to make up somewhere. So where is he going to make that $600,000 up?
Probably on the other 7 that he's trying to sell there. They're going to raise the price on those.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense.
He's going to have to raise the price on those other 7 houses almost $100,000.
Isn't there a better, smarter way to make affordable housing in our valley than that kind of thing? I mean, I don't know what the answer is, Brad. I mean, we talk about this a lot on our shows with different guests.
We got 4 housing bills passed, and here's what we agreed to. Kind of getting back to our grand bargain idea. The House leadership in Salem basically said, you're going to cut a deal with us or else. So here's what we came up with.
Okay, all right, I love these.
This is Senate Bill 1533, and what we came up with is we said, look, what you're really concerned about is higher density developments. So why don't we say that you have to be building at least 20 units before this kicks in? And they said, okay.
So they agreed to that. So if a 20 unit subdivision or a 20 unit apartment
20
or
or
something,
more.
20 or more would be subject to the inclusionary zoning of that 30%. Okay.
Right. So and then we said, look, 30% is just
it's a lot.
Too much.
I mean, that's more. It's more than commissions. I mean, that's a lot.
So could we just go 20%? And they said, okay, we'll go 20%.
All right.
And then we said, can we define affordable so that you don't just pull a number out of the air? And they said, okay, it has to be 80% or more of area median income.
Median income, right?
Okay, all right. So we kind of got that nailed down. So just in that one little piece of work that we were able to get done, we probably saved Southern Oregon hundreds of millions of dollars, because the reality is for any of this inclusionary zoning to happen, it would inflate the cost of all the other housing
in that particular neighborhood. Yes,
right.
I see that. Yeah,
plus the cost of administering the program. So really, our organization really just saved our area hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah,
and I'm very proud of the work that we did there.
Boy, that's good. I know it's so real estate. Certainly, we found out in our shows over the years is it's such an easy thing for lawmakers to want to tax, because it's it's sales, it's this, there's money changing hands. And it's very easy and tempting to want to go after that type of money we've seen. And the Oregon Association of Realtors, the home builders, the builders associations have really fought that and have so far beaten that back. But I know that when the legislature resumes again in 2017, those things are going to come up again.
Right.
Because it's an easy way to get money is to tax the people who are building.
Big pile of money in one place.
And it's so wrong. I mean, you're just adding much more cost. Hey, we're out of time. We got to go. Brad Bennington, HBAJC.com is the website for the Builders Association. We didn't even talk about the home show. We got to save that for next time. So, hey, you have a great weekend as well.
Happy Easter, everybody.
That'll do it for the Real Estate Show this Easter weekend. For Pete and Joe, have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next Saturday right here on KMED.
You've been listening to the Real Estate Show on KMED AM and FM radio, presented by John L. Scott Real Estate of Southern Oregon, along with All Cities Property Management, the Home Builders Association of Jackson County, Ditech Mortgage, the Jackson Soil and Water Conservation District, and the Rogue Valley Association of Realtors. For guest information or to watch a past show, visit us online at realestateshoworegon.com. Join us again next weekend for Southern Oregon's one and only Real Estate Show on KMED.